Hello, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And we're going to get right to the news, and we have some for you today. The first thing is we had talked about the insurance situation over at the City of Fall River with the stop-loss insurance. And we had posted on Facebook and on YouTube that our investigation revealed afterwards that some information was erroneously reported. It wasn't Perry Long. It was Patrick Long, his brother. And our source had said P. Long and assumed that it was Perry Long. So we wanted to correct that right away. And again, it's not about the person who's doing it. It's about the transparency of how this contract was offered, because we haven't seen any RFPs, and we just want to be sure that everyone got an equal shot. And Chipper has more on that because he was involved in this more closely than I was.
Yeah, well, it was, sometimes this happens when you try to get the news out quickly on every level. Sometimes reporters on the scenes interview people, spectators, and people who view whatever incident they're reporting on, and they get some information that's not 100% accurate. The fact is that the basics of this were all true. There was a contract issued, the Long. However, the individual, when it was initially discussed, you didn't say it was P. Long. He said it was Perry Long, and I questioned him on that. I said, Perry Long? And he went, yeah, Perry Long. And then I have to thank Councilor Dan Rigo. We called him up to help us on our follow-up investigation, and we determined that, in fact, the paperwork didn't say Perry Long, it said P. Long. We weren't at the meeting when that paperwork was given out, so we didn't see it, and the individual said it was Perry. When I questioned him, he apologized and said, well, I assumed. He's not a reporter. He's not looking at things from the perspective we do. He assumed. He said it was Perry Long. Took him at his word, but as usual, we do what most people who do this job and take it seriously. We continued on our investigation because the name isn't as important, as CJ said, as what we're looking at here. We have a history in this city of people who are politically connected, basically sucking the marrow out of the city and taking the money and getting the contracts without going to bids. And if this contract was given out and Patrick Long was the low bidder, and everybody who had an opportunity from Fall River got to bid, and he won this bid on the up and up, we don't have a problem with that. The fact is that that's the issue. The issue is we did further research into Patrick Long, and I'll turn it over to CJ in a moment, and he'll give you the complete thing. But the fact is, Mr. Long's company's in Rhode Island. Did Fall River companies get to bid? He also has a business. It's not even in Fall River. So this is one of the fundamental problems with the city of Fall River. We have a group of people who benefit from their political advantages by backing certain people, and Mr. Long was the treasurer of the mayor's campaign. So all these factors give the impression that there may be something inappropriate. So if it isn't, we shouldn't have to tell them that these things should be done in the glaring light of the day, so everybody can be assured that, in fact, if Mr. Long got it, it was because he was the low bidder. But the problem with the city of Fall River, the way we do business, is that the political insiders get the contracts. The political insiders get the bids. We saw that happen up at the industrial park when we talked about the bidding process, and then ultimately they got some Fall River people involved after we broke the news. This is one of our major problems. We have a city that's in financial difficulty, yet nobody's minding the store. They're just picking everybody's pocket, and we have to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck for our community. And we had someone contact us on Facebook and imply that we had someone else in mind, and that's why we were upset. And so CJ doesn't have to turn it back to me. I'll let you know. We don't have anybody in the business. We don't deal in that business. And if anybody has been paying attention, it's kind of absurd, since I've been fighting with the city about the healthcare issues for many, many years. And over the last year, with the changes in healthcare, as the PEC representative for the retirees, I have been picking this thing apart, not for anybody, but to make sure that the right thing is done for the citizens and for the city employees, and to make sure that our money is spent where it should be. And we have no dog in this fight, to quote an old colloquial expression. We're not looking to get one of our friends the contract. What we're looking to do is to ensure that the taxpayers and the employees and the retirees of the city of Fall River get the best bang for their buck. And when we're spending millions of dollars, that we're spending the least amount we can, so we can keep some money in their pockets.
Well, as you said, this isn't a personal issue. We are not affiliated with any political organization, any political candidate, any financial institution. We don't accept ads at this point in time. But we represent the citizens. We represent you in asking the questions that our very limited media asks. Because as many of you in Fall River know, all our media sources, except for television, being the 3 major networks or 4 major networks, are owned by Gatehouse. So we don't have a choice on who we can get our media resources from, because whether it be the Fall River Herald News, the Standard Times, or the Providence Journal, it's all the same company. But getting on to Patrick Long's curriculum vitae, his background. He's a vice president at Partners Insurance Group, LLC, which is located in Rhode Island. He is the owner and partner at Rose Alley Ale House in New Bedford, and he claims proud to be a Rotarian. He's been with Partners Insurance Group since September 2006, and he specifies here that he's been with it for 7 years and 11 months. And this is as of July 9th, by the way. He's the owner and partner at Rose Alley Ale House since March of 2009, which is 5 years and 5 months, and he claims to have the largest beer selection on the South Coast, and great food and people. He's been with the Fall River Rotary since 2007, and he was the founding member of the SCBA, which is the South Coast Business Alliance. I got to look a little bit into that and find out what that stands for and what they actually do. He's also a member or a part of the Thompson Farland Inc., and of course the UMass Dartmouth MBA network, as he received his Master's in Business Administration from UMass Dartmouth. But the Longs have a long history, as was stated earlier, and one of them, again, is Patrick Long served as treasurer for the Flanagan Committee, which filed numerous amended reports and had a question on some of the contributions they received, and all of that's very much public record. So it's just a little strange that Patrick Long then gets this contract, and we can't seem to find an RFP for it anywhere. We're still looking, and this story hasn't died yet, and we're going to keep on top of it. But the thing that gets me is that regardless of how many questions we bring up, there's never an answer. And we know the mayor watches the program. The mayor told me straight out that he watches this program regularly. And I have to say, how could this happen? Is this a political patronage contract? Is this something that we got to pay back the Longs? Because remember also that the mayor's campaign did its call banking from the Long office on Eastern Avenue. So again, we have to question, what does this administration owe to the Longs? And how come it seems that all the Longs are getting paid back accordingly?
Well, we shouldn't have to be telling the mayor or any city official that, especially when you're dealing with someone who you have a personal relationship, a political relationship, such as the treasurer of your campaign, that if they're involved in any kind of business dealing with the city, you should always err on the side of giving out even more information as necessary, just to remove the doubt that will always be in people's minds when they hear that name mentioned and say, well, did he get a contract because he was the mayor's treasurer, because his family is firmly entrenched? He gave his brother a nice job and a big pay raise, and they created a position for him. And his other brother ran for city council so the mayor could get another vote on the city council. I mean, you know, let's face it. For a very, very long time, we have had certain people and families who are firmly entrenched in a political process. They are, you know, political players in the game. And the Longs are one of these families. And the fact is, if he got this contract on the up and up, we don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is, number one, there was no Fall River company that could give us this insurance. Number two, how many people got to bid on it? Number three, this guy is doing so well in Fall River. Why didn't he open up the ale house in Fall River? They love Fall River so much, they have apartments in East Providence, they have businesses in New Bedford. Yet, well, what's the problem? The problem is there's no transparency in any part of our government. We've seen it with the health care. We've seen it with virtually every question that's ever been answered that has any kind of significance in the way we run our government. The priority seems to be gouge the taxpayer as much as we can, and it's our fault, as we said before. It's time to change the way we do business. This is not the way you do business. We are in a financial catastrophe mode here, and yet we're not making sure that every single dime we spend is the minimum we have to spend. We shouldn't be overspending, and we should have a very, very long and accurate bidding process for anything that's going to cost us a lot of money, because we need to save every dime, and it seems as though our government doesn't realize that yet.
Well, you know, I want to know where the feeding trough is. I'm being serious, because it seems that everybody gets to eat from this feeding trough that is physically, financially, or otherwise attached to the rump on the 6th floor. And you say that we need to spend as, little as possible on services. Well, obviously we do that already. Look at our fire department. I mean, and today, because we taped this on Friday, by the way, today we're losing 25 firefighters, to the point that people had to retire to keep some of the younger firemen on the force. They probably are accepting that wonderfully, but are we? We're still 25 firefighters short, because we're going to spend the minimum amount necessary with the fire department.
Well, that's the problem. We seem to spend, we have no priorities. We don't spend our money on essential services, which should be our priorities. However, there doesn't seem to be any consideration on the cost of doors for the law department, renovations for the mayor's showers, tiles on the marble floors. Every time I go up to the 6th floor, I conduct a tour. When the doors open and I see some new people there, I say, look at the floor. Look at the TVs. Go on the other 5 floors, and when the doors open, it's not the same. You have now reached the Taj Mahal. There seems to be no consideration for how we spend our money when we're spending it on political insiders and political cronies. But firefighters are too expensive, the police officers are too expensive, DPW is too expensive. Well, that's why we have to change the way we do business, and we have to change our government. You know, if you got a TV repairman that can't fix your TV, you don't go to him anymore. If you got an auto mechanic that can't fix your car, you don't go to him. Why do we continue to put people in those seats in the city council and people's in the 6th floor who just don't care? Who just don't care. Their answer is always, let's raise taxes, let's raise fees, and let's take more money out of a population that almost 25% is living below the poverty level. It's absolutely incredible, and CJ will talk about a statement made by Kenny Pacheco about how 90% of the people do what they're told. Well, you know, we're not supposed to do what we're told. We're supposed to do what is in our own best interests. We pledge allegiance to a republic. A republic is a form of government where the representatives represent us. The Constitution of this state says they are at all times agents of the people. Yet, we allow people to sit in those council seats and sit in the 6th floor who have a total disregard for how this city is run. They use it as a way to generate money for their friends and use it as an employment agency. It's absurd. How can we can't continue down this path because that's what got us here. You know, you won't bring your car to someone who can't fix it. If the people who are sitting in a city council chambers refuse to stop raising taxes, refuse to make this government lean, and categorically refuse to earmark money for the important and necessary things like fire, police, trash, education, it's time to send them packing, people.
Well, we've been saying this for a while, and I feel like we're beating a dead horse. No offense to horse lovers. But, you know, on to Ken Pacheco in the pay-as-you-went program, as I'm calling it, because Kenny Pacheco made a statement on the air that 90% of the people of Fall River will do what they're supposed to do. And I kind of interpret that as you'll do as you're told to do, because you're a lemming. And for those of you who don't know what lemmings are, they're these little creatures which follow each other right off the cliff. They'll follow each other to everywhere. And I guess that's what they expect of Fall River people, to be lemmings, to just do as they're told, and how they're told, and don't ask any questions. Well, you know what? You have a choice. You have the right. Pay-as-you-throw is not mandatory for you if you choose to go with a private vendor. And you have that option. Whether you go with ABC, DEF, GHI, waste companies, that's your choice. You have the option. Don't let them think that they hold you by the gonads and you have to do what they tell you to do. You're going to be getting in the mail a bag for free, one bag, a $2 bag. When you look at this bag, you're going to laugh. It is so flimsy, I mean, you can put your finger through it without even trying. You can read the newspaper through the bag. And you're expected to keep your trash in that. But why? And then to absolutely ensure that you don't have an option, Ken Pacheco wants you to understand that they need to have an ordinance issued which levels the playing field, because the city's required to recycle, and he thinks, or he believes, that the waste companies aren't recycling. They're just picking up your trash and throwing it away. When on the contrary, they're not. They're using single stream on everything. One company even invested money into a facility which automatically sorts the recyclables out, the organic wastes out, and the solid waste, all in separate fields, so that they can recoup 99% of the recyclables from your trash. So you want to put the ordinance in place, Kenny, get the city council to do it, because I'm sure the loving members of the council, which do whatever they're told by the mayor, will be more than happy to vote for it without a question. But I don't think it's going to affect many, if any, waste removal companies out there. I think it's just another thing that you've claimed that the DEP wants you to do. Just like the DEP wanted you to go with pay-as-you-throw. I have a request into the DEP for their policies on pay-as-you-throw, as well as their recommendations to communities. And I'm going to give them the necessary time to get it. And we're going to find out what they've actually said to the city of Fall River or any other city about pay-as-you-throw. And now for the big announcement, straight from the 6th floor of Government Center, live over 195, we have it here for you to see, and many of you already have. The mayor has decided to bring the Olympics 2024 to the city of Fall River. And I want to know, where's your head? Do you have any reality in this? Is this just another diversion to take the eyes of the people off of what's going on at City Hall. The mayor has sent a letter to His Excellency Mitt Romney, former governor of Massachusetts. Let's clarify that. Former Republican governor of Massachusetts, stating that, as I am sure you are well aware, the bidding to determine the venue of the 2024 Summer Olympics will begin next year in 2015. Several cities throughout the United States have begun considering a bid to host these games, and for good reasons. I would love nothing more for the 2024 Summer Olympics to be held in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and specifically in the great city of Fall River. And right now on Facebook, there's a page saying Boston 2024. And 2 radio talk show hosts are posting it and saying every day, you need to make comments to include Fall River in this bid. Here's the problem, people, and let's get our heads out of our derrieres. I know the FCC says we can use the actual word, but I'm not going to. Do you know how much land it takes for an Olympics? Even for one sporting event. Look at what they did with the Winter Olympics. They built a secured railway from one location to the other. You have to build villages to house all the athletes and their coaches. Huge villages, which in some cases after the Olympics are left barren and useless. You're talking billions, not millions, billions of dollars to build these venues. We're never going to see it. What do you expect them to do? Have the soccer matches at Britland Park? Come on, let's be real here. And, you know, the mayor claims in his letter to Governor Romney that we have a huge history of sporting events in Fall River. Well, you know, Fall River's rich traditions of excellence in sports. The city has produced 4 players for the U.S. men's FIFA World Cup team, including the man who scored the first over hat trick in the World Cup history, as well as the 24 MLB players. Guess what, Mr. Mayor? Woohoo! We produce them. Do they stay here? Not in your life. They know better. We have a rich history, maybe, but that history doesn't stay here. Chip?
Well, this is another great indication of why we're in the position we're in. We're talking about something that's 10 years down the road. The city may well be in receivership. And let's face it, this is the real core issue here. This says it to me. It says everything about the way Fall River is. You know, they're going to say we're naysayers. No, look, let's be realists. Because you have reality shows on TV. Maybe Spindle City Straight Talk's going to create an unreality show, and Fall River can be the host city, because that's what we have. We have the unrealistic show. We're talking about 10 years down the road. We may not even be able to finance the city next year. Secondly, we can't even get a Five Guys hamburger place in here because it's too upscale. It costs you $5 and change for a burger at Five Guys. That's too expensive for Fall River. I said, we need a McDonald's where you got the 99-cent menu, the dollar menu. I mean, you know, this city, we're going to attract people. We're going to have people from all over the world who have enough money to travel internationally, come to Fall River, and they're going to look at they're going to research the city and say, wow, look at this city. It's in the top 50 for most dangerous cities in the United States. They're in the top 50 for heroin use. You know, they're in the top 50 for crime. Wow, that's where I want to go. Plus, it takes tremendous amounts of space. And he says we have the space. We don't have the space. The fact is, but even if we did, it's 10 years away. What are we doing today to fix this city? The answer to that is absolutely nothing. We're giving out pay raises to people while we're laying off firefighters. We're doing absolutely nothing to get back on track. And for our new state rep and her husband from the Office of Economic Disaster to be saying, boy, this is a wonderful idea. Well, you know, people, that's the reason we're in the mess we're at, because they have no grasp on reality. I think that somebody should start checking the water.
We've already done the water issue, and nobody cared. But that's true. Rep Carol Fiola has said, "This is wonderful. I'm on board." Get your head out of your backside too. I think you've been inhaling the fumes from the landfill for a little too long. It's going to cost us too much money. But hey, it's a new sport on the Olympics. We got a petition for it. Mainlining.
Yeah.
Can you see this now? Fall River would win the first gold medal in mainlining. These heroin junkies could be there going, "Yeah, I got it," and we would win. Because we've got the training going on already. This is craziness.
Your facetiousness is not wasted today. However, you got to remember that Representative Fiola will now have a really great reason why her lights are going to work now on the bridge. With all these great fixes to Fall River, it's like lights to illuminate the disaster that this city's become. Now we're going to have the Olympics 10 years. Why does everything that we look at to fix this city 5-10 years down the road? Yet when we look at what really is going on, look at the council that flipped and voted 7-1 to raise your taxes, raise your fees, make this city virtually impossible to live on, laid off firefighters, laid off police officers, while they were giving pay raises to the lawyers. Think about that.
It's true, and the lights will work though. We're going to illuminate your way to the sporting events of the Olympics in the city of Fall River.
Well, the new adage will be, the new colloquial expression will be, "The road to hell is paved with LED lights."
It's amazing what they're doing. I must applaud the mayor though. He always has great ideas. I don't think there's any factual basis behind them, but he's got great ideas. And this is a wonderful idea if we had the land and the money to do this. But look at the amounts of money that is spent on these programs for the Olympics. You need tons of land. Tons of land you don't have. Boston doesn't have it. They're so congested as it is. It takes 2.5 hours to get into Boston at 8 o'clock in the morning. But the idea is good, but we have no place to put it. You couldn't even put this in the Berkshires.
Even if it was plausible, CJ, the fact is it's 10 years away. And if they got the bid, we would have to begin spending tons and tons of money, which we don't have, upgrading everything in this community, at a time where we may not even be solvent. We may not even be solvent next year. This is the most, to me, this is the most grotesque example of political bullshit that I have ever seen. It's always we're going to fix things in 10 years. Well, next thing, even our casino, let's face it, we weren't going to just build a small casino. We were going to build a world-class destination. Come on. Welcome to Fall River, home of the Unreality Show.
And thank you for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. We'll see you again next time. Have a great day.